Well, everybody, it's another day of the week that ends in Y, and Twitch has done another stupid thing, just highlighting the hypocrisy of the platform. Now, I've not been one who's been jumping into a lot of these discussions about TOS and its enforcement on the platform of Twitch. I've just kind of been letting things fly, but I've just reached a point where I gotta weigh in on this because I think it's time that more content creators are vocalizing the absurdity of what's been going on that platform. And what are we talking about today? Today, we're talking about Tectone. Voldemort himself just got banned again recently from Twitch. And now I know some of you who are seeing this, you might be thinking, oh, Connor, that was totally warranted. That guy's a jerk. He shouldn't be on Twitch. First off, you're retarded. But also, I need you to understand that it's not as it seems when you're thinking about his ban in this circumstance. So I want to go over the video that he put out talking about his ban, talk about his previous bans and what's gone on, and talk about the blatant hypocrisy of Twitch that needs to change for the future. So before we get into all of that, I want to first break down each of the bans that he's had, and he's gone through each of these in the video, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on them. So his first ban starts around 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Out of the way, the sheer stupidity of this all is truly mind-boggling. So I want to walk you through the first time I ever got warned. So to remind you guys, the first time I ever got banned was me saying that Denim's only good content was on her OnlyFans and nobody should consider her worth listening to. Which, you know, to be honest, it was a little bit mean, but where's the lie?
I'm sorry. I know some people think that that's mean, but like making a joke about that doesn't violate TOS simply because she has an OnlyFans. She has that platform that she's selling content on. So the only statement that he's made is that her only worthwhile content is on OnlyFans and not on other platforms. That is mean. I get that. And you may not like that, but that doesn't violate TOS. Now, granted, this was only a warning. Initially, this was an initial ban, but I do think it's kind of hilarious that he was already getting warnings for things like this when he hadn't even done anything. But that's all for his warning. Let's talk about the first time he actually got banned.
I'm trying to remember. The first time I ever got banned, I believe, was for telling a Twitch chatter to kill themselves. Which, to be completely honest, that was completely justified. I was reacting to anime. I told them to put a shotgun in their mouth and kill themselves. And to be fair, totally reasonable. I absolutely wear that ban as a badge of dishonor because I went over the deep end that day. I was very grumpy, to be fair.
So let's be clear, totally justified. I'm not gonna go here and try and defend Tectone's first ban. He's not even trying to defend his first ban. Absolutely not. Look, you can't be telling somebody to kill themselves. I know those of us who like to frequent the internet and internet spaces with our friends, we may say that jokingly, but when you say it with a friend, they know you don't mean it, that you don't actually want them to go and kill themselves. And so it's a little bit of a different context than an anonymous chatter you don't actually know that you're angry with and telling them to go kill themselves. So I'm gonna be honest, of everything that we've discussed so far, fair. That's legitimate. So we know his first warning was kind of silly and didn't violate TOS. We know his first ban was legitimate, but let's talk about his second ban. Was that legitimate?
Now, the next time I got banned was me calling everybody's favorite streamer, Frogan, fat. Now, I want to remind you that Frogan is roughly 5'2" and roughly 300 pounds. So I got banned for a descriptor. I called Frogan fat. I get banned for 2 weeks. It gets appealed down to 2 days and 18 hours, roughly. And by the way, this is after her saying that all American soldiers deserve PTSD, and as well as America deserve 9/11. Yes. Oh, by the way, she didn't get banned for that.
Can we just take a second to acknowledge the hilarious disparity here? That like going out there saying all soldiers who, by the way, in the Twitch terms of service are a protected class of person, of veterans, are a protected category of people in the Twitch terms of service, going out there saying they all deserve PTSD, they all deserve to have all of these issues, they all deserve to have all of this trauma. Going out there and saying that, she was never banned or never had any issues for that, but Tectone calling her fat, this apparently reclaimed word that's not actually a dirty word, that's not a scary word, he got banned for that? You can find article after article these days actually even just saying that fat isn't even a bad word at all. It's just a way that people describe their bodies. So we're taking this term that apparently is reclaimed and is not actually a scary bad word, but no, Tectone needs to be banned for that. But also saying America deserved 9/11, saying that veterans deserve all of their trauma and deserve to have all these issues and deserve to have all these horrible things happen to them, that's not worth being a ban? Ooh, seems a little bit uneven to me. So currently, Twitch is 1 and 2. The warning was unjustified. The first ban was justified. The second ban was not justified. Not looking good for Twitch, but let's see recently. Ban number 3 that's just happened. What would have caused that, and is this warranted?
Now, let's talk about why I got banned this time. Well, it's actually due to 2 streamers, not 1 but 2. And this is great. So, here it is, 7-day suspension for sexual requests, graphic or derogatory sexual statements, or unwanted sexual content. And you might be wondering, oh, techie, what did you do this time? Well, there are 2 streamers who have been really talking about me for months. Actually, what's crazy is talking about me for years. And their names are Denims and Minx. Yep. Oh, man. You know where this is going, guys. So this is a whole clip of Denims mocking my trauma about worrying about my father when I told a story about how when he was deployed, he got his legs, the skin of his legs completely blown off, as well as his ear cut off in the war, and her laughing in my fucking face and saying that he fucking deserved it and that I probably made up the entire story. That's the first clip.
Now, Tectone doesn't go on to bring this up again too, but one other claim to fame that Denims has is denying some kind of childhood trauma because making claims that somebody was too young to remember and to form those memories. Now, I hate this clip so much because what it reveals to me is when Ethan and Hila are sharing about how they're concerned about the memories that their children are going to form, they're concerned about the trauma that they're going to have from the CPS experience. And instead of having any modicum of sympathy, Denims decides to red herring the whole thing by pivoting it into an argument that you can't actually form memories at that time, so it doesn't really matter. With the horrible implication that it doesn't matter what happens to children because they're not going to remember it anyway.
Create any bad memory for them. You're not forming memories at 3 years old, and it's very rare that you're forming memories at 5 years old. Now, yes, you are. No, you're not. When we're talking about being able to remember, being able to recall memories, it's like 4 is the cutoff. But even if you are forming any memories at 4, you're not going to be able to remember them past like 15. You have maybe 1 or 2 memories. Talking to a random stranger once isn't really memorable for a kid. There's a wide variation about the mean across methods cohorts. The average age of adults' earliest memories is 3.5 years old. You're not really forming memories at 3.
Now, I just wanted to do my part mentioning that I think anybody who does any amount of research understands that it's just such a ridiculous statement to be making because that's not how trauma works. Just because you don't have active memories about a certain situation or circumstance doesn't mean you don't have trauma because of it. Now, just looking at the NIH, the National Library of Medicine, there's articles that talk about prenatal stress in babies and talking about how they can develop trauma and trauma responses as early as being within the mother's womb based on the trauma and stress that the mother is experiencing and feeling. They develop that. They don't have any memories of that. They don't have any feelings about that. And yet, they develop trauma responses because that's the thing. Memories don't matter when it comes to developing trauma. You can still develop that trauma response. Now you might be thinking, well, Connor, that's just when they're in the womb. It's because they're connected to the mother. So that's why they're feeling that stress. And nope, that doesn't hold water either because there's also been numbers of studies talking about childhood trauma or baby trauma when they're having separation anxiety and other stress responses from being away from their mothers after they've been born. Meaning that even though a baby doesn't form memories, they still form trauma responses and it affects their development as a whole. Just in case you needed to do a modicum of research, Denims, to understand that. Because look, as someone with kids myself, to hear some absurd statements like that and denials like that, not gonna let that one fly. Frick, this is making me so mad. I don't normally come into these things so heated and so tilted, but like some of these people have really been pissing me off recently. It's been one of the other reasons why I've been needing to just add my voice in here. But we're going to continue on here for a sec. Tectone gave some other examples of Denims in his video, so if you are interested in what they are, you can go back and watch those, but I think we've understood what's going on with her. Let's talk about Minx, or just a Minx.
And the other woman is another woman. Minx. Known alcoholic, known drug abuser, known schizo, goes live on Twitter and says, reminder, Tectone's dad is a rapist and that I also have sexually assaulted 2 women, according to her. Another woman who is accusing me of crimes.
In case you don't know who Minx is a content creator who was connected with OTK some years ago, and actually in some of the kind of like Ludwig Hassan orbit, where she was connected with a lot of other creators there and had a lot of other friends. But Minx did have a lot of substance abuse issues, and since then has basically been completely cut off by everybody who was close and around her. This happened at one of the last Twitch Awards shows when she had some issues at the after party, got the whole thing shut down, which resulted in creators like QT Cinderella completely cutting her off from her sphere. Since then, she kind of disappeared from the internet, had a couple random reappearances, and has not been looking healthy and well. I'm not going to sit here and make jokes about addictions, about drug abuse or alcohol abuse, because look, those are really serious things. And when we're talking about somebody who's actually struggling with them, I'm not going to go ahead and target that or make fun of that. That sucks. That's real stuff that people struggle with. But also, I'm not going to go out of my way to validate what a schizoing addict is saying about somebody when literally 2 seconds later get proven to be making stuff up.
Oh, and trust me, this woman is so deranged, she believes that she's lived with me. I want to remind you, I've met Minx one time at the OTK Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, where I joined OTK. I have met her one time. Since then, I have lived with minimum a partner, a wife, or a roommate, or a girlfriend throughout my entirety of living here. Never once have I lived by myself. I have always had someone living with me the entire time I've been down in Austin. And this woman is so deranged that she thinks that I lived with her.
So yeah, not going to give a lot of credit to her. But the thing is, he's saying these 2 are the subjects or the cause of his recent ban. So let's take a look at the reveal here. What did Tectone actually do? What did he actually do to cause this ban?
Why did Twitch deem me worthy of a 7-day ban? Because I called them whores. Yep, I called 2 women with OnlyFans whores, which is, by the way, by definition, a factual statement. OnlyFans girls who are sex workers are prostitutes. Prostitutes are whores, whores are prostitutes, prostitutes are sex workers.
Let's do a quick little fact check here, shall we? Definition of whore: a prostitute. Okay, what's the definition of a prostitute? Prostitute: a person, in particular a woman, who engages in sexual activity for payment. I don't know, seems pretty accurate to me.
I got banned for 2 weeks for calling a fat person fat. I got banned for 7 days for calling a whore a whore. And now, I'm sorry if that terminology upsets you, but the problem is that doesn't make it any less true. And the reality is, when I go live and I tell the truth and I get banned for 7 days, and then you have these same women where I am only calling that out of defense. I'm only calling them that out of defense because they have provoked me by accusing me of crimes that I have not committed whatsoever, going in on allegations that went fucking nowhere almost a year ago now. I think it's pretty reasonable if I call them a name or 2. So I want to let you guys all know this. This is the same website where Hassan calls me a rapist, where Hassan calls Nuxtaku a pedophile, who calls Mudahar a pedophile, who calls Asmongold a pedophile and a mother killer, bringing up Asmongold's dead mother. No ban, no punishment. Mike from PA calls me a pedophile, calls Nuxtaku a pedophile, calls Asmongold a pedophile, calls him a murderer. No ban. Calls for the death of Asmongold. No ban. Denims, who is also called for the death of Asmongold. No ban. Hassan, who has radicalized his audience to supporting terrorism. No ban. Frogan, who supported 9/11. No ban. I call an OnlyFans girl a whore after she called me a rapist. A career-ending, life-ending accusation. They get no punishment. I get 7 days.
I just wanted to get that full rant out there because I think it's important to hear everything like in full here. Like that's what we're talking about here. That's the context in which all of this is taking place.
I suppose I'm a martyr. I suppose I can once again get punished for the wrongdoings of everybody else, and maybe that will put the fear in them to get their act together.
Gotcha, Jesus! At it again, everybody! You cannot like Tectone. You can think he's too much of a jerk, you don't like his personality, whatever it may be. There's a lot of streamers or content creators that I don't watch because it's not my kind of content, it's not my kind of personality, it's not for me. That's not an issue. That's fine. What we're talking about is the uneven application of Twitch's terms of service and how they're approaching these issues, where somebody can be attacked and labeled some of the worst things you can ever label somebody on the internet, and then when they do call out in response, they're the ones who get banned. They're the ones who get that consequence for it. It's just absurd. Now, I don't normally like to create content on this kind of stuff to go this way because I do think this is getting into like, you know, slightly more sensitive territory than I'm accustomed to, but this is something that I think more and more content creators need to speak out on. This is something that more and more content creators need to let Twitch know. Twitch as a platform needs to have that pressure to see that their hypocrisy is seen and known by everyone else and that there needs to be consequences and repercussions for it. Now, I'm stoked that creators like Tectone, Asmongold, and others have all gotten into multi-streaming now, and that's something that I'm going to be doing myself for future streams. That I've also set up a Kick. I've also been multi-streaming already on Twitch and YouTube. I'm going to be adding in Kick, and I'm going to be adding in Twitter for that in the future as well, or X, or whatever the heck that platform's called now. But I think that's something that every content creator should do. I think Twitch as a platform needs to feel the consequences of their actions in this circumstance. And so I hope more and more people do that. And if you are a viewer, you are somebody who watches some of these streamers, watch them from the other platforms. Watch them from Kick. Watch them from YouTube. Watch them on the other side so that Twitch can see the numbers go down. Because at the end of the day, that's the only language that they speak, is either crazy leftist perspectives or numbers. I've said this before and I've said this again. I've met Tectone and have been able to have a few conversations with him. He's been able to do a few things for me, and I know other people who are really good friends with him and know him decently well. And I know that he's nothing like a lot of the internet paints him to be, at least from everything that I've seen on my end. And I feel like as somebody who has benefited from some of his advice, as somebody who's been part of this, that like I need to do my part in talking about these things and kind of helping the internet understand that that's the case. That is Tectone a saint? No. None of us are. None of us are saints. None of us have never done anything wrong. None of us have ever said anything that maybe hasn't crossed the line. Of course, these things happen. But to go out here and paint him as this villain, like he deserved this ban, like he deserved it based on or over what everyone else has been doing or attacking him with, is just frankly absurd. And I'm not just gonna let those things fly anymore. So guess what? I'm adding my voice to the choir. I got your back. All right, that's it for this one. Everybody, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Make sure to go follow me and Tectone over on Kick, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.